I'm the manager from dwpcorruption.co.uk, the independent watchdog for the Department of Works and Pensions, and we're having a conversation with Roy Jenkins, Get the Snouts at the Trough Party, and this is a continuation of part two of the video. Oh, Roy, continuation. The one thing I wanted to bring to your attention, which I think I spoke to you about last week, you know when we spoke about these cretins that voted Gordon Brown, the public didn't have any say in it, did they?
No.
It was these MPs and MEPs. We've learned recently, you know, that all these are part of the Fabian Society that Gordon Brown is involved with, which is a sidekick to Common Purpose. And the fascinating thing is, we talked about Tony Wright and being as corrupt as what he is in Cannock, in South Staffs. We've also got Mike O'Brien that we've spoke about from North Warwickshire. We've tied this in with the police, North Warwickshire Police, and of course Staffordshire Police. So where the collusion's concerned and the corruption with both these cases, don't you find it absolutely fascinating that it all pinpoints to the same thing? So we've talked about now the collusion, the corruption, and all the goings on with customs and excise. We've talked about the 500,000 whack that they wanted to give you and trying to set your lad up for drugs, etc. And the shooting of these critters trying to shoot you.
Yeah,
it sounds like something out of Starsky. What was all that about?
Well, what happened was they suddenly realised this is customs and West Midlands Police. They suddenly realised exactly what they did. Well, not 100%, because there's certain tapes that we've kept back. Those will only come out when court cases, and we do the.
Oh, brilliant!
We've kept them to one side, but we've kept proving time after time the conspiracy between police, customs, MPs, Bly and Brown. As one example, James Scale, who's customs NISC officer, who came to my home on the pretence that he was sent to investigate the corrupt police and customs officers. He actually phoned me and he actually wrote to me at my home. 2 years later, I get a knock on the door and there's a gentleman there from the Chief Constable's office of West Midlands Police. He asked me to sign for a letter. When I opened the letter, it would appear that Mr. Ewish, who was the boss of Scale, couldn't find my address and he couldn't find my home number anywhere in customs records. So he'd have to ask West Midlands Chief Constable to hand deliver a letter from him, from Ewish, to my home. And I asked the question, well, if you don't know, how come Scale, 2 years ago, could actually write to me, came to my home and actually phoned me, as did Don Green, it just goes on and on and on, and you keep thinking, where does all this end? You know, who actually is covering for who?
I think at the end of the day, mate, they all cover for each other. And, you know, it's like I said, your MEPs and your MPs is just a smokescreen. But the amount of people now that have come to realise that the MPs are failing in public duty to support them. And, you know, the people don't realise these MPs can actually be fined, like we've already stated last week. I think there's going to be half the country fining their MPs because, you know, what purpose do they serve? They're an absolute boatload of idiots.
Yeah. As I say with mine, Tony Wright, I'm afraid he's as bent as a 9-bob nose. I sent tapes and documents of corrupt police, customs officers, proof of actual false dual shipping invoices that were sent to Tony Blair when he in 1998. He wrote to me to say they'd been passed to the appropriate office to be dealt with. Also in there was copies of letters of solicitors that were also involved in the cover-up. It took me some time to get hold of Blair again, but when they wrote back, and Mrs. Francis Lee, who was the correspondence officer for number 10, wrote to me to say that all my documents had been sent to Lord Irvine's office, who is the Chancellor or whatever he is, to investigate. And I asked, well, why would he be investigating corrupt police and customs officers when he only deals with courts and judges? Anyway, 2 years later, by accident, I found out which actual office in Irvine's department my documents were. It turns out they've been sent to the office that tells judges where they'll be sitting for the next 3 or 6 months.
Oh, right. Can
When
see
I-
the picture here.
Well, when I questioned this, they wrote back, and I've got the letter from them, in which they stated, we have no idea why Blair has sent them to us, because it's not within our remit.
Judicial corruption, mate.
All that she said is, our office is only to tell judges. Well, last year, a friend of mine, who's been doing some investigating for me, asked me again about these documents, and I said, well, why would you not want to know about these? And he said, well, at the time, these documents were sent by Blair to Irvine. Tony Wright MP was actually the personal private secretary to Irvine. So the letter sent from Blair went to Wright, and it was Wright that put him in the judge's office.
Inside job, mate.
Not Irvine. I've got letter after letter that I have sent to Tony Wright, asking Wright, tell me why you passed them to this office. No reply. We've asked Tony Wright time after time.
And he ignores you, doesn't he?
I've asked him. He sent me a letter telling me that he'd sent the tapes and the documents that I gave him, and he handed them over to the Cabinet Office. Since 1999, the Cabinet Office and Wright have refused to explain where they are, who's got them, what was done with them.
So, when you see this video, Mr. Wright, we want to know. And there'll be videos continually played until we get to the bottom of this rot that you're part of. You know, I think all MPs are the same. You know when your MP's lying though, don't you? He opens his mouth.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I mean, my own MP, Ian Pearson, bless his cotton socks for Dudley. Lovely bloke. The only problem is he hasn't got a brain. You know, and I mean, recently what we've learnt of with Ian Pearson is that he goes which way the wind blows, which I think they all do, don't they?
Every MP does, yeah.
You know, they're not interested in the public. They're interested in the public duty and in looking after people. They're all corrupt. You know, I mean, Ian Pearson's brother last year, he got done for corruption for a £600,000 scam as a financial advisor, ripping women off. You know, it makes you laugh because there's his brother who is pushed to one side and doesn't want nothing to do with, as he states in a statement we've seen from the Express and Star. Yet Ian Pearson is involved with huge corruption in government like Tony Wright, Mike O'Brien, and the rest of these cretins that are part of the Fabian Society. And if it is that you go on the Paul Smith site and you happen to Google it, you'll find all the MPs that voted Gordon Brown in. Now, all these MPs have got one thing in common: corruption, collusion. And, you know, the public are becoming aware. We're excited about this because we've been talking to Brian Gerrish lately, and recently, I should say, and what we've decided to do alongside the TPUC, we're going to start to turn up a court because we know now that the media's corrupt and that they don't actually give the positives to the public about the negatives of the government. We're going to start turning up in court, at court cases with banners, and we're going to create our own media. We don't need them. And this is what's got to be done. And, you know, this is something that I want to talk to you about later because this is something we can do
I'm
with
more
you.
than happy to do it. To me, when we do a disc for the party, again, this will go out to Martin. It will actually put the documents on there of proof. And we're doing that to say, okay, this is available for everybody in the public, and we're saying, and I say it again and again and again, if what I say is lies, why haven't I been arrested? Why haven't I been prosecuted?
See, where that's concerned is these people are going to be frightened of the exposure. Part 3 coming up. Keep your eyes peeled.